Ever since the first podcast asking if AI was going to take over our profession, I keep getting that question. Well, time has finally come. It's happening. Demand Planning 2.0 is here, and we have the instruction manual. Let's get to it. Welcome. Another exciting episode of IBF On Demand. And I'm your exciting and very passionate and humble host, Eric Wilson. I said, if you want to reach me, eric@ibf.org. It's eric@ibf.org. You can find me there. Also, we have a sponsor, very special sponsor, Arkiva, your one-plan S&OP software solution. Happy to have them on board. And thank you very much, Arkiva, for being part of this. We also have the community, keeping it up, liking, sharing, subscribing. We have a membership. If you haven't become a member, please become a member. IBF.org, become a member of IBF. 50,000 people worldwide in this type of profession. You can be part of this like-minded community. Also, we have a Journal of Business Forecasting that came out not too long ago. It's available for members. We got a whole library of information. This is one piece of it. We got journals of business forecasting. We got blogs. We have webinars, town halls. Check those. It's coming up as well. We have this podcast. We also have books. We got books like the Fundamentals of Demand Planning and Forecasting. We also have the newest book, Predictive Analytics for Forecasting and Planning, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. It's an IBF survey, and by a margin of almost 3-1, they said that AI and machine learning will be the top technologies that will impact our field in the next 7 years. Predictive analytics alone is going to have a market cap above $18 billion in 2024. 57% of the companies that still are not using predictive analytics plans to do so by the year 2025. And the number of managers that are using predictive analytics grew from 17% in 2017 to over 30% in 2 years later in 2019. This isn't your daddy's demand planning anymore. Things are bound to change, and we are seeing it happen today. That's the reason why I have our special guest on today to talk about those changes that we're seeing today in forecasting, demand planning, business forecasting, S&OP, related fields, things that we're seeing today, and how to react to them and how to get ahead of it. The author of this book, Predictive Analytics for Business Forecasting and Planning. So this has been one of my most exciting guests. I've been looking forward to this guest more than anybody else, and I'm excited to have him on board today to talk about not only his book, but what's going on in demand planning and forecasting today and going forward. Eric is the Director of Thought Leadership with the Institute of Business Forecasting. He's an innovator, author, speaker, influencer in predictive analytics, demand planning, and S&OP. He's a certified professional forecaster, CPF, with 20 plus years experience. He worked as a director level with many top organizations in different industries. In 2015, he was one of the top 20 pros to know. 2016, he was the recipient of the IBF Award for Business Forecasting and Planning. Eric is a frequent speaker and panelist for many executive forums and professional conferences, has written numerous articles in journals, magazines, newspapers, and author of multiple books, including his most recent one, Predictive Analytics for Forecasting and Business Planning. And as I mentioned, he also, I think, has a podcast. Help me welcome Eric. So thank you very much, Eric, for being on board. Exciting new book, Predictive Analytics for Business Forecasting and Planning. I said, I'm very happy to have you as my guest today to talk about this book. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Eric. I can't tell you how extremely happy I am to be here. It's an honor to be in your presence and being interviewed by you. So this is an extreme honor for me as well to be part of this podcast. I've been watching it for a while, and I'm excited to be on this end of the camera and actually being interviewed by you now as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you. So in talking about your book, in a lot of the information I got about this book, you mentioned Demand Planning 2.0.
Okay. What exactly I meant by Demand Planning 2.0? is we are seeing the next generation of forecasting happening right now. The time series modeling, the internal shipment data, it can only get us so far. And it's not giving us the entire picture. And when I'm talking about demand planning 2.0, I'm talking about what we're doing now to adjust to the current markets. With the sheer volume of data, the complexity of businesses today, the companies that can see, interpret, and act, they're the ones that's going to be the ones that win going forward. Demand planning 2.0 is going to be an intricate part of that. We're seeing that rise to the top as far as what companies are focusing on to really be those ones that have the competitive advantage going forward with insights from the data.
I can definitely see it being elevated, but what exactly has changed? What's the impetus for this change right now?
Many things have changed. I mean, for starters, let's look at COVID.
Okay, I can definitely see that one. I understand that.
Yeah. But beyond that, I mean, there's other things that's changed here. I mean, when you look at COVID, the impact it's had of not being able to see, and the way we're changing to having to forecast faster, more frequently, looking at different types of data. I mean, that's seeing an impact. We're also seeing changes in markets. Obviously, because of COVID, a lot of people going online. But we saw that migration even before COVID with the Amazon effect. Companies are going to that e-commerce online type of marketing. And with those changing markets, the way we used to do forecasting and demand planning doesn't work in this new world. When you're looking at time series, it's not translating real well into dynamic pricing models that you're seeing, or pricing's changing every hour, or how many reviews you have, and looking at different ways you can look at marketing on a e-commerce platform. The consumer's different, the seasonality's different. Everything's changing, so you have to be able to get closer to that consumer demand and consumer sentiment. And with that, that's predictive analytics is one of the things you're doing that. We're seeing across the board where cycles are getting shorter, talent is getting smarter, systems are getting better, and the need for insights are growing. When you're looking at those things, you now have the capabilities for, that's what's changing. That's what the impetus for change right now into that demand planning 2.0, or what I say, predictive analytics for business forecasting and planning. That's what's the impetus behind not only this book, but what we're seeing in the market now as well.
Okay. You mentioned COVID, and I know we've got a couple good podcasts we've done on COVID already, but how are you seeing companies get through this, or how does COVID relate to predictive analytics and really this book?
That was a great podcast that you guys did do on that type of situation. So, I mean, I recommend as well, go back and check those podcasts that you did on COVID. Actually has a few articles about this as well. You can find those articles on demand-planning.com. It actually focused on how to deal with COVID. But back to your question you had of, how are companies getting through this and how is it translating predictive analytics? What we're seeing companies right now that are successful, or not, maybe successful is the wrong word, that are managing through the planning cycles with COVID, they're focusing on data. They're focusing on the data they have, understanding that, translating that. That's what one of your podcasts was about that. But then also finding new sources of data as well and getting closer to that consumer demand, getting closer to understand the leading indicators as well. They're also focused on the communication aspect of it, being more transparent, communicating more, being able to understand and getting everybody on the same page. They're also migrating to that predictive analytics. I mean, basically, we haven't discussed this, but if you're looking at predictive analytics, if I wanted to kind of give you here is what predictive analytics is. It's more and different types of data. It's more and different types of methods and models, and it's more forward-looking. That is, in essence, as I said, the reason why you're seeing so many companies migrating to more of that predictive analytics from just the traditional demand planning and forecasting they did in times of COVID, with Amazon effect, with the shorter cycles and what we're seeing, because it is more and different types of data. You're focusing on that consumer sentiment, leading indicators. You're focusing on different types of models. You're understanding a lot of the A/B testing that you can do now. You're shorter cycles. You're trying to train data. You're trying to shorten the cycles, things as well. And it's more forward-looking now as well. You're looking more ahead of what is causing the impact, the whys, getting to the whys of what's going on now. Because once you understand those, then you can really adjust to those new norms. It's not just looking at the past and the cloudy data that you may have right now. It's understanding the consumers, the leading indicators, and understanding those new norms.
I hate the word new norms, by the way. I hate that word.
I understand. Nobody likes the term new norm.
Okay.
I get that.
Okay, we're on the same page with that one.
There.
So who exactly is this book for?
Great question, of course. But this book is from anywhere from the practitioner to the more experienced, the professionals, anybody in demand planning, business forecasting, supply chain, business planning, pretty much any related field you have.
So pretty much my entire audience here.
Yeah, I guess I would say that. It would be the entire audience then that's watching this right now. Yes, it's for everybody out there that's watching this right now and all your friends and family. I mean, please share. Everybody should buy this book, in my opinion. But this book is for really, I said, anybody from the basics starting into this field or it's been in this field for 20 years. Because what we're doing is we're building upon those proven principles and practices. Business forecasting, demand planning is a proven process inside of businesses, and it's worked for years, and it continues to work. This builds upon those proven principles, those practices that IBF's been promoting now for years. It takes those and builds to the next level. It builds upon those as far as what we're going into, what you need to start doing to adapt to the business of today. It also aligns to our advanced certification program as well. It's the Advanced Certified Professional Forecasting, the ACPF. A lot of people may be familiar with the CPF designation, the Certified Professional Forecasting. IBF's been the leader as far as with that designation for forecasting professionals now for years, recognized by every Fortune 500 companies. This is the advanced certification that I said, we're taking those proven principles of these basics of demand planning and forecasting, build upon those, and that's what this certification program for is an advanced certification of Advanced Certified Professional Forecaster, ACPF exam. This book's actually the textbook for that exam. So if you're thinking about going through that exam, which I highly recommend, it's utilized by, I said, Fortune 500 companies that help open up doors. It helps looking at your pay as far as increase your pay, having a designation like that on board. Companies recognize it. I said it's good on a resume. This is the textbook for that ACPF exam, so it aligns to that as well. So, but back to the original question. This is really for the novice going into this all the way to the experienced data professional, data scientist. Everybody can get something out of this book.
So is this something that even I could understand, or do I need to be in the field, a data scientist? I mean,
no. Now, as I said, this is from anywhere from that novice beginner to the data scientist. You don't have to have those years of expertise. You don't have to already have the principles there, because this really touches on those principles as well. It's a great if you do. The fundamentals of business forecasting, but Dr. Jane, that's really the Bible for demand planning and forecasting. If you haven't gotten that book, recommend getting that book. This is the chapter 2 of that book, I would say, that builds on those principles. But even then, it's really for the introductory as well. It's designed to be simple, anyone can follow, and it provides practical advice, practical insights into business forecasting and planning. It's intentionally, I did not fill this book with math formulas. It has some formulas in it, but it's not a mathy book. You don't have to be a mathlete to be able to conquer this book. It's focused on the fundamentals. It's enjoyable to read. It's laid out easily so anybody can, simple, follow along the concepts as well. but it's also packed full of provocative ideas from innovators, practitioners on data, segmentation, machine learning, how to set up a function. We talk about technology, systems. It goes through a whole gambit from people, process, data, methods, systems. It goes through the whole gambit, start to finish, of really what predictive analytics and demand planning 2.0 means inside of your organization, what it means to business forecasting, what it means to you going forward as an individual or as a business. So really, it's packed full of information, and you don't have to be that data scientist. It really, for the business professional, anybody, this is a book that really helps you navigate what's to come.
So is this a textbook or is it a resource then?
I'd say both.
Okay, I thought you actually were going to say my favorite answer. It depends.
Well, kind of. It's kind of, it depends. But I'd really go with both. It's being picked up by a few universities. It's actually got a couple great blurbs on the back from professors, MIT, Rutgers, Notre Dame, University of Kentucky, that have actually looked at this book and possibly going to be utilizing it as well. So it's actually, there's a lot of young skulls full of mush in colleges that's maybe picking up this book in the near future and be utilizing as their text. I said it is also aligned to the ACPF exam. So this is the textbook for that 3-part exam as well, that designation. So in that ways, yes, it's a little bit textbook and a little bit academia, but that's not what the book's about. I always see the book more as a resource. And I've gotten a great feedback already from someone who already purchased this book and said they're going to get it for everybody in their department, and this is going to be their Bible, because it really is a resource book, in my opinion, as well. It's easy to find information. It's kind of conversational. It's the way I talk to you right now is the way I write books. I try to be conversational in that. So it's a conversation that we're having throughout this book, talking about concepts, talking about ideas, talking about things you may have heard of, but you don't understand. This will make it simple and we can understand them together. It's easy to follow, and I said, it is enjoyable read as well. We go over some basic methods you can be sure to look back at. So there's things in here that you're going to be able to look back in time and say, okay, what's the thing that we were talking about, that decision tree and a random forest. Go back. You can look and see exactly some of the terminology behind it. It has a glossary at the end with some new terminology that will help guide you into the future as well. But you can find some easy formulas. I said, nothing really mathy, but it gives you the concrete, high-level information. You can understand this. And I said, this is a resource book for anybody in this field right now. You need to pick up this book because this is your resource book going forward.
Yeah, I got my book dog-eared many times already. So definitely a resource. You talked about methods. What kind of methods are you look at covering in this book?
Okay, with the methods, it's more of just a review of some concepts and high-level methods, along with some examples and formulas. There is formulas there as well that go with them. So I don't go in detail. I mean, I'm not teaching you how to program R. There's some great books out there on, if you want to go to R or Python and utilize some of this. There's some great, ones that go in detail about some of these formulas and methods. I don't go in. I give you a high enough level explanation of them that you can understand them. I give you the details of it so you can actually start utilizing them or understand if somebody else is utilizing them. So, this isn't going to make you the smartest person in the room when it comes to machine learning, but it's going to at least allow you to have that conversation with others about it as well. And we talk about really the foundational ones that you need to know from a forecasting, predictive analytics, and planning. The foundational ones that you're going to need to understand. I go into basic things such as like a naive Bayes, logistic regression. We build upon those into decision trees and random forest, artificial neural networks. These aren't complicated. These are things that you can grasp and you can understand. We also get into some segmentation. We talk about things like k-means and other clustering classification type methods as well that you can utilize. But these are things that you may have heard about. We talk about them at, as I said, those high levels, giving some examples, giving you the formulas to go with you. Ideally, what I want you to accomplish with this book is, I said, I want you to understand what it is, what you have available. Expand your toolbox is what I wanted you to do beyond just the time series, regression, or, what you're doing as far as a exponential smoothing model. I really want to expand your toolbox, but give you those foundational knowledge as well. Because as systems, become available, you understand what the features are, what the data sets are, what the different types of models, what they utilized, how are they utilizing things. Giving you the basic concepts, you understand it better when you then have to start utilizing them, or if somebody else is utilizing them. Also, this will give you the basic fundamentals if you wanted to go then to try to program this in R or Python. This will give you enough knowledge to really get your feet wet to start that journey as well. So it gives you the understanding, no matter where you are at a level, to be able to expand and challenge you to take it to the next level as well.
Okay. Well, I could talk to you all day. I only got time for a final couple questions, though. In your book, one of the things you talk about is spotlights at the end of each section. I said there's about 5-6 different sections you have between people, process, data, methods, technology. At the end of each one, you have a spotlight. So can you explain a little bit more about that spotlight and what exactly are those and how those came about?
Yeah, that actually came from those spotlight sections you're talking about. Those actually came from a criticism of some of my past writing. It was constructive criticism, and it was something that I enjoyed hearing. It was from some of my past writing. See, a lot of what I've done, a lot of my writing, and a lot of the podcasts, and I know the reason why you're doing this podcast as well, Eric, I tend to want to challenge thinking. I want to make people think. That is my objective and goal. I mean, critical thinking is one of the key skills we need. If I can get you thinking beyond what you do on a daily basis, it get you out of your box that you get stuck in doing your job, and make you start to think of, how can I apply these concepts someplace else or some other way? What other concepts can I bring into my job? That is critical thinking. That is challenging your thinking and making you think. That is mostly what I want to do, and I know you want to do as well, Eric, and the reason you do your podcast. And the reason I write my book and the reason I do my articles is for that reason. I enjoy writing about that. And with that, it generally sometimes comes out more as the theory level. And I didn't want this book to be at that level because of those criticisms I had of, you don't give concrete case studies. You talk about something, but you don't show how someone actually uses it. Because I always avoided sometimes how someone uses it, because I didn't want to put you back into another box of this is the only way to use that. So with this book, though, I really made it an effort to show some true examples. And that is where those spotlights come out. So I wanted the concrete example. So what you see is in each section, I talked about those 6 different sections that I have. Each section, I will start off with the theory, the understanding, the concept of that, from a people, process, data, methods, technology, whatever section you're looking at, from a theory, the understanding part of it. Then I will go into the details, and at the end of each one, I have case study, the detail, the application, how someone is actually utilizing this. And that's what I wanted to provide. So I provide not only the challenging you, but then the detail part and showing you, hey, here's a real life example.
So where does the audience get a copy of this book?
That's the best question so far. If anybody wants my book, you can find it at ibf.org/books. You can find the book there. It has an introductory price right now. It's Predictive Analytics for Business Forecasting and Planning. It is available on Amazon as well, but at the ibf.org/books, we have an introductory price right now at $42 plus shipping. So highly recommend going to the IBF. You're going to get a little bit better deal on it, and you support IBF along it, and you're supporting me. I mean, be honest. I need to feed my family this year. So please buy my book, because I got to feed, my daughter and this year, and she's almost a teenager, and she has a lot of needs. So please buy my book so I can feed my family, take care of them, and support IBF. Go to IBF/books. You can find the book there. It's an introductory price of $42.
I got my copy. Why $42, by the way?
Well, of course I chose $42 because it's the answer to every question. It's 42. So that's the reason we went with 42.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, I got my copy. It's definitely worth the read. Thank you very much. I was happy to have you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I said I truly enjoyed being on this side of the camera for once. So thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed this interview, and maybe we'll be able to do it again sometime.
Maybe. Thank you.
All right.
So that was a fun interview as well, and hopefully informative interview as well. You got a little bit of information about exactly what that book is about, and a lot of it about what predictive analytics means in our field today. I hope you check out. I always give you recommendations for books. This is obviously a very special recommendation I'm giving you today for this book, Predictive Analytics for Business Forecasting and Planning. There's a lot of books out there. This is the only one that's going to go highlight for our field what this means for our field going forward. Predictive analytics, when you're looking at it, if I give you the definition, it's a process and strategy that uses a variety of advanced statistical algorithms to detect patterns and conditions that may occur in the future. And what we talked about in the interview, what you're looking at is it can handle different types of data, more and different types of data. You're looking at more external variables. You're trying to find those whys, get relationships, get closer to consumer demand. It uses more advanced algorithms a lot of times and systems to be able to do it. You are looking sometimes machine learning. Mentioned the naive Bayes, the logistic, but also decision trees, artificial neural networks, things of that sort as well. It could also just be ARIMA or regression type models as well, that can utilize some time series or other types of correlations and variables that are correlated. And it really looks at more that forward looking. I mentioned it goes for the why. It focuses on the why. And once you hear that why, then you can start doing what if type scenario planning and things of that sort. And you can start driving demand for as well in prescriptive analytics. If you're looking at where predictive analytics falls inside your organization right now and how it kind of fits, if you look at BI, business intelligence, that's the architecture part. That's the data management. That's the outputs. When you look at business forecasting, that's the process. That's the process we've been doing for years and continue to do. That's the process that makes predictions. Machine learning, that's new to a lot of organizations. It's approaches that allow systems and methods to learn. Predictive analytics is really that intersection of those three. It allows BI to understand the why. It allows you to sort through data a lot better and be able to extract insights from that data. Machine learning is used to improve the forecasting. And predictive analytics utilizes some of those methods then to learn and improve upon the forecast predictions that you're making. And for business forecasting, it's more forward-looking. You're not just looking in the rearview mirror anymore at your internal sales history and trying to make a prediction, extrapolate that forward. You're now trying to find those leading indicators. You're finding the things that are happening that can tell you what's going to happen in the future and bringing those into your modeling as well. As he mentioned, though, this is one more tool in your toolbox. We're not replacing demand planning. We're not replacing your time series. We're not replacing what we did. We're going to continue to do those things. So the answer still is AI is not replacing what we're doing. We're adding to our repertoire and adding to what we have available to do it better. Predictive analytics is that next tool in your toolbox to do it better. That's what we're going to be able to do. And to be able to understand it, I highly recommend his book. Highly recommend my book. To be honest, I recommend my book, Predictive Analytics for Business Forecasting and Planning. Hopefully you check it out. Hopefully it gives you those tools. I'd love to hear feedback from it as well. Love to hear feedback of what you think, what we can put for our next edition that comes out. I want you to be ready for Demand Planning 2.0. But guess what? There'll probably be a Demand Planning 3.0 at some point as well. So please give me feedback. This is one book available to you. Go to ibf.org/books. Check out the books there. Give me feedback at eric@ibf.org, eric@ibf.org. Let me know what you think. Let me know once you get it. Give me a testimonial. Love to have that as well. I want to thank Arkiva for being part of this podcast, your one-plan S&OP software solution. We are at the end of another podcast. This one is a little bit different. Hopefully you found some good information with it as well, though. Thank Arkiva, one-plan S&OP software solution. Thank you, the audience, for being part of this as well. I still want you to check out that membership possibilities at ibf.org. I said you do have the journal. You do have other types of research available to you, webinars, town halls, past conferences, sessions. You're going to get discounts at future conference sessions. There's a multiple reason. If nothing else, you're going to be part of a community of like-minded people in our profession. As we do find these changes, as we do navigate our profession going forward, you're part of that conversation. And you're part of that conversation here at IBF On Demand at this podcast. So check out this. Check out all the past podcasts. Thank you for being part of this. And as always, don't forget, wash your hands.